Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. There I am. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful Friday morning. The weekend is just around the corner, and we're going to get you warmed up for the weekend with an awesome show today. Steve Kim, TJ Moe, Coach J.B. will all be joining me. The topics will cover a wide range from Thursday night football last night on Prime. Fascinating game. And I'm perhaps going to have to eat a little crow. I don't like Jackson Dart. I don't like the big gold platinum chain or whatever he wears around his neck. But that was a fascinating game. The Giants knocking off the Philadelphia Eagles. I have to admit, I'm going to have to make some adjustments to my thought process. We'll probably do that. We'll get into that game a bit more in the second half of the show when Coach J.B. joins us. We will start the show where we've been starting the show a couple times this week as more developments happen at ESPN as it relates to Ryan Clark and what we should read into that. In between that, we've got a conversation. Albert Breer of the NFL Network said something very interesting about Bill Belichick and his GOAT status. We'll get into that. Bad Bunny appears to be in some trouble. They've legalized Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk to kind of discuss, like, hey, maybe Bad Bunny's on shaky ground. We'll discuss that. Stephen A. Smith chimed in on Bad Bunny in a predictably stupid way. We'll talk about that. I've got my Fearless 5 predictions. I was 3-2 last week. Should have been 4-1. I feel really, really confident about my Fearless 5 picks. And then on the back end of the show, we'll have Coach J.B. around 11 o'clock. About an hour from now, J.B. will join us. So we got a lot, because I'm going to start with Ryan Clark, and I'm going to melt down a little bit. And if you saw on the title of the show, I'm going to melt down on Bob Iger and his role in all of that. So just give me a quick second. I want to make sure those of you that are listening over Apple, please, I'm commanding you to hit that 5-star review. Help us fight the algorithms. Help us grow the show. Hit that 5-star review. And then I'm commanding those of you that are dealing with little aches and pains. I just had a workout this morning, and I feel great. Feel tremendous. And part of the reason why I feel tremendous is because of our sponsor, Relief Factor. Relief Factor is that 100% drug-free daily supplement that you can take that will fight inflammation. This drug-free supplement that will fight inflammation. You can start with the 3-week quick start for just $20 or for $19.95, and you can find out if Relief Factor is right for you. 70% of the people that do the quick start, they circle back and re-up because they're already feeling the benefits of Relief Factor within 3 weeks. It starts fighting that inflammation. Next thing you know, you're moving and grooving the way you used to. You're feeling better. Some of that pain that's been compromising you. I know it's working and happening for me because I keep getting up every day and exercising and setting new standards for myself. I've got so much going on in my house, and I couldn't more sincerely thank the people at Relief Factor for contributing to my ability to work out, move around, take care of things around my house. Luke, shout if did I just not carry a bunch of boxes in to my backyard yesterday? I mean, heavy boxes. I asked Luke for assistance, but Luke will tell you, I did 90% of the work myself. I had to carry Luke as I was carrying these boxes. It had to be 6-7 boxes. And yeah, so you hear Luke in the background. I did this myself. And in all seriousness, that's the benefit of Relief Factor. I was sitting there mesmerized myself as we kept carrying these boxes back and forth. I was like, look, I can do this. This is incredible. I've been working out. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling stronger. I'm feeling younger. Relief Factor, a big part of that story. 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com. All right, let's get into today's show. And let's start with Ryan Clark back on the air this morning. And stick with me. I'm going to connect the dots here that we're just not beating the same drum. I'm trying to help you understand what's really going on. And Ryan Clark is not sorry. And that's why, sorry, not sorry. He doesn't have to be sorry because he is protected at ESPN. And you're wondering why this morning, after this tremendous and interesting Giants-Eagles game, where the defending Super Bowl champions look like trash, look like they got a quarterback that's struggling, look like the offense is struggling with play calling, look like the offensive line was struggling with this Giants defensive line. ESPN has their number one distraction, not attraction, their number one distraction. The man that apologizes every month for doing something stupid on the air, he's front and center on the show they've invested the most money in, First Take. Why are they doing this? Because they're sorry, but they're not sorry. Because Ryan Clark is backed by people and doing exactly what ESPN wants him to do. They're sorry, not sorry. And that starts at the very top of ESPN. There's a three-man cabal backing Ryan Clark, the distraction. He's not an attraction, he's a distraction. And he creates the right kind of distraction. Ryan Clark is a big, giant symbol sitting in the middle of ESPN that says, hey, we hate white people. And Bob Iger, the head of Disney, he wants that big, giant symbol, that big, giant black symbol. He's the puppet tier controlling the puppet, Ryan Clark. And so Ryan Clark consistently does things on ESPN to point a finger of blame or increase hostility towards white people in sports, white people in America. And I know that the leftists and the black racial idolaters, what is Whitlock doing? Why is he out here caping up for white people? Doesn't he understand white people are evil? Bob Iger and Disney told me so. Because it's not really an attack on whiteness. It's an attack on a Christian worldview. That's what Ryan Clark, while pretending to be some sort of Christian, that's what his job is, to do things antithetical to Christianity. And so he sits on air and trolls white people. And you're wondering why an employee that's had to issue an apology 3 straight months, how does he keep his job? Unless he's doing exactly what Bob Iger wants done, what Disney wants done. And so there's a little 3-man cabal of leadership at ESPN, starting at the very top. Go check the Stephen A. Smith videos where he talks about Bob Iger and his relationship with Bob Iger. Bob Iger has his black puppets. And it's Stephen A. Smith, and it's a high-end executive named Dave Roberts, and it's Ryan Clark. And their job is to go on air, or to have Ryan Clark go on air, Stephen A. Smith go on air, whoever else they can rope into it, go on air and demonize white people for everything. Let's take a look, or let's take a listen to Ryan Clark's third apology. This is 3 straight months Ryan Clark has had to apologize. He did this yesterday morning or yesterday afternoon, right at the conclusion of our show. We haven't aired this apology yet for Ryan Clark's latest disaster, where he went after Louisiana police erroneously with no information and, did his little racist attack on white police officers in Louisiana. Let's play his latest apology.
To Ryan Clark.
Yeah, so I've never really had much trouble expressing anything. This has been more difficult because I know that people are hurting, right? 2 lives have been lost. Herman Hall, a man who spent his life in service of other, and Kyren Lacy. He's just a young man who I wish I could tell how much he had to live for. My heart absolutely breaks for both of them, their families, and their loved ones. On Monday night's Sports Center, I addressed the horrific car crash that took Mr. Hall's life, and also the subsequent tragic events that led to the death of Kyren Lacy. In full transparency, y'all, I knew Kyren Lacy personally, but nothing matters to me more than the truth. I always strive to do my best to mix authenticity with the most complete and up-to-date information available. I failed to do that on Monday night based on the subsequent evidence that has been released by the Louisiana State Police Department. I set the highest standards of fairness and, most importantly, righteousness in my work. I didn't meet that standard. But since I've spoken to Kyren's representation at length, and I've also reached out to a representative at the state police office just to have a conversation. They informed me this morning that because it's ongoing litigation, they actually can't divulge anything else. It's always important to me that I gather all factual and important information to provide the complete story. That's a responsibility that I do not take lightly. And when discussed in real time on Monday evening, I failed to do so. And for that, I apologize.
So that's Ryan Clark. That's his third apology in the last 3 months. Public on-air apologies in the last 3 months. Let's not forget, he race-shamed RG3 over his white wife. He had to apologize for that. Let's not forget, he went after Peter Schrager, white guy that covers the NFL, stellar reputation, can't find anybody that dislikes or doesn't respect Peter Schrager. Longtime Fox Sports reporter, now has moved over to ESPN, is someone that ESPN seems pretty invested in, and Ryan Clark on air, on camera, called this guy out and said, basically, you don't play, he shamed the guy for not playing and said that, we don't have to take him as seriously. Had to apologize for that. This is 3 times in the last 3 months. There's been no suspension of Ryan Clark. No discipline of Ryan Clark. There's a message being sent. You troll white people, you're all good at Disney. And the real message is, if you attack America's Christian values, you're all good at Disney. That's the Disney Bob Iger is leading. That's the yes, many people are sitting there like, man, this is personal with Whitlock. He's still bitter about his time at ESPN. And I'm not still bitter about my time at ESPN. But my eyes are wide open about what transpired when I was at ESPN. Because the second time, from 2013 to 2015, my eyes are wide open. I understand how I was set up, why. This isn't bitterness, this is just facts. When I went back to ESPN the second time to launch, formulate, build the Undefeated, and all the backlash and red tape and all the obstacles that were thrown in front of me. And never once, I would go to the Disney offices for meetings, but I never once ever met Bob Iger. And then when I read, and this is in 2016, 17, whatever, when they picked a replacement for me after they gathered up my plans and were done with me and pushed me out the door, Kevin Merida replaced me. And I read in an interview where Kevin Merida, one of the first things he did when he got that job was meet with Bob Iger. And that's when a red flag or just like a question or a explanation or lights went off in my head. Like, oh man, I had the job. I was there to formulate, and for 2 years, never met Bob Iger because Bob Iger knew exactly who I was. He knew who I was perhaps better than I knew who I was. Like, that guy doesn't know it, and I'm talking about Bob Iger. Like, that's a hardcore Christian. He's in the infancy of figuring out just how hardcore of a Christian he is. And I'm talking about me. He understands me. He's like, man, we can see his values. We can see the way he writes. We can see the way he talks. He's not on board with all the Black Lives Matter stuff. He's not on board with all the racial idolatry stuff. We're going to bring this guy in, Jason Whitlock, to gather up his information, his instincts, his insight on how we should operate the undefeated. And then we're going to discard him and throw him in the waste bin of journalism. That was the game plan. And that's why I never met with Bob Iger. Because Bob Iger doesn't meet with hardcore committed Christians. And so that's why he's comfortable with Stephen A. Smith, Ryan Clark, Dave Roberts, and others. Because they're committed to money. They worship mammon. They don't worship God. And I'm sorry for being that judgmental, but I'm just speaking facts. They pay a little false interest. Yeah, I'm a Christian. But look at how they behave. Look at how they use the platforms that they're given. They're not there to protect a Christian, a biblical worldview. They're there to make as much money as they possibly can while doing the bidding of Bob Iger. And this is why I'm hated, because I talk this way. Because I point out that you can't be committed to a religion that hates Jesus Christ, denies Jesus Christ as your personal savior, and then be the best friend, the leader of some sort of Christian movement. Those two worldviews are at odds. And so Ryan Clark, nothing will happen to him. Nothing has happened to him. Bob Iger put him on TV today, one day after his third apology. Think of your own work situation. Whether you work at McDonald's or whether you work at a Fortune 500 company. If within your office you have to make 3 apologies in 3 months, do you keep your job? Do you pop back up on air as if nothing happened after your third apology in 3 months? I've been in this business since 1990, and I'm a risk taker. I walk a tightrope. I take all kinds of chances. I've had to issue 2 public apologies. I had to, in the late 1990s, apologize for trolling New England Patriot fans in the late 1990s and Drew Bledsoe. I'm in a press box. Fans are turned around taunting me. I taunt them back, and I put up on a little handwritten piece of paper, I put up Drew Bledsoe gay, ? And the world melted, and I got suspended, and I was at the top of the industry when this happened. And the world melted, and I got suspended for like 2 weeks, and it was like, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of journalism. And I had to publicly apologize, and I don't regret that public apology at all. It was necessary. I made a mistake. I let the big dumb jock in me make a fool out of me. And then, I believe this is 2011, 2012, I had to apologize during Linsanity. Jeremy Lin, the basketball player, he's going off, scoring all these points. And I think on one of these nights when he scores 30-some-odd points, I tweeted out something about Jeremy Lin celebrating and some young woman experiencing a couple of inches of pain. It's comical. That incident made me and Steve Kim friends, but once again, the world melted, and I had to issue a public apology for my sense of humor over something I tweeted out over Twitter. That's twice since 1990 I've had to apologize for my immature sense of humor. This man's apologized 3 times in 3 months. Nothing. He's backed by a higher force, clearly. Bob Iger, Dave Roberts, and Stephen A. Smith. This is exactly the behavior that Ryan Clark is pretending to apologize for is exactly what they want from Ryan Clark and what they want from all their black employees at ESPN. They want Christians trolled and they want white people trolled. And that's what all of these high-profile black ESPN employees do for a living. Some of them just do it more cleverly, but they all do it. ESPN is a disaster zone under the direction of Bob Iger. Is that all I want to get off my chest as it relates to that? I think it is. We're going to take a break here. And when we come back, I'm going to have Steve Kim and TJ Moe react to Ryan Clark's latest apology. And then we'll move into some other conversations. We'll do that next. I believe, and I'm going to go this far, and people will be upset, I believe it's God ordained. And that doesn't mean Candace Owens is perfect. But I think her intentions are pure. And I don't think her intentions are, hey, I just need more traction and I want to become the biggest influencer in America. I don't think that's her motive here. I think that Charlie Kirk was assassinated in a very weird and suspicious way, and that somebody in the media was going to have to be the bad guy and press this issue. And nobody, no man, was willing to stand up and to be that bad guy and to take those bullets. And people have been firing shots, cheap shots, at Candace Owens throughout all of this. The reason why my senses lean towards supporting Candace Owens in this instance is because as a journalist, I've been through all of this.
Yeah, 모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Reason that I'm back is to feed you raps. I see that you are 배불러 So fly.
All right, welcome back. Welcome Steve Kim, TJ Moe into the conversation. Guys, I want your reaction. We'll start with you, Steve Kim, to my contention that Ryan Clark is actually doing exactly what Disney wants him to do, and that's why he's not suspended, and that's why he can get away with 3 public apologies in 3 months without any ramifications. He's doing his job well. Steve?
No, I've said that for a while. He's just doing what he's employed to do. And by the way, that streak, it gets to 5 or 6. It'll be right up there with Joe DiMaggio's hit streak. Honestly. I mean, once in a while, I get it. You say something off the cuff. You kind of regret it. You apologize. But 3 for 3 is impressive. Now, if he goes 5 for 5, let's say he does one in October, or he actually did one. So he goes November to December, and you turn the calendar. That'll be right up there with DiMaggio's streak. It'll be up there with AC Green's played game streak, all of that stuff. But I've said this for a long time. Ryan Clark is brought in for a reason. There are certain other reasons. I guess he's there to, explain a cover 2, a cover 3, explain why a certain defense doesn't work. But there is a bigger picture why he is brought in as this pseudo-intellectual.
Steve, I think you're 1,000% right. He's just killing time when he's talking football. His main job is to be a big symbol to other black journalists that, hey, man, if you're willing to be racist on air, we have a prominent spot for you here at ESPN. And it's like, find clever ways to be racist. You don't need to be as bad at it as Ryan, but we keep him around as a big symbol that all are welcome. If you're willing to be a bigot against white people, if you're willing to promote all of our woke ideology and be that symbol, we will back you come hell or high water. It's amazing to me, Steve, that you could do your third apology on Thursday and show up on Friday like nothing happened. That's amazing to me.
That's not really amazing. I think it's par for the course. The standards you set for somebody is what you really think of them. And again, what do coaches stress in football or any other sport? Execution. Well, Ryan Clark is just executing his job.
TJ, and I've said this in all seriousness. ESPN is trolling white people and white America. And it's a way of trolling Christianity, in my opinion, because the left has painted Christianity as this white thing. It's a colorless religion and faith in reality, but they've colored it, and they use it to trap black people into thinking that Christianity is evil and you're a sellout if you practice Christian beliefs. But as I just evaluate what Ryan Clark is getting away with, if I were some white sports fan, and even as a black sports fan, as a Christian sports, I'm irate about it. It's you love sports. It's a portal to experience sports through ESPN, but the messaging and the vitriol and the hatred of white people is so overwhelming. I don't know how you guys watch ESPN.
No, I don't.
I don't hear TJ. Hold on. We got a problem with TJ?
I can't hear him either, but Jason, I think it's very simple. I don't watch ESPN. I watch it for the live games and sports. I mean, if they didn't televise any football, my viewing of ESPN would probably be less than a half hour a week. So when you say, how do you watch ESPN? Well, easy. I actually leverage my choice as a consumer to say no. I mean, honestly, we're not forced to watch ESPN. That's why Ryan Clark really does not bother me that much. He doesn't really come into my sphere. We talk about him here. I see a lot of clips of him on Twitter, but he's one of those guys that if he came up to you in the street and he talked to you and he gave you his opinions, you'd be like, okay, anyway, hey, buddy, I got to catch a bus. He's the type of guy that's ignorable, except we do talk about him. But to your point, Jason, I don't watch ESPN.
Neither do I, other than I'm looking for examples of just how off course and how wicked ESPN is. Steve, I want to go to your top 10 worst athletes turned broadcasters, because I think Ryan Clark is in contention. I'm looking at your top 10. I think you got Ryan Clark way too low. You want me to read these, or you got it?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I really didn't per se have them number one. It was kind of a mix of how they act, what they've said, and just how good or bad they were on air. And with Magic, it's a little unfair because maybe I'm including the Magic Hour. I just cannot get that out of my head. I love Magic. He's one of the most important athletes of my childhood, and even yours. And you grew up in Indianapolis. I grew up in L.A. He made my life better. But we got to be fair and honest here. Magic was, oh, God, I wish you wouldn't. Him and Chevy Chase may have had the two worst talk shows ever. And I still remember when Howard Stern came on. It was brilliant TV, but it was like a car wreck. Ryan Clark, you're right. I was just kind of putting them whatever. I think Ryan Clark, actually, when he analyzes football, is pretty good. I'll give him that credit. Emmanuel Acho is raging now about Shedeur Sanders.
Hold for 1 second. Hold for 1 second. I want to give people context to your whole top 10. You got Joe Montana listed at 10. Lawrence Taylor listed at 9. I'm very critical of criticizing. I'm very afraid of criticizing Lawrence Taylor. He once threatened me inside of a locker room. Emmitt Smith, you got it, 10, 9, at 8. Ryan Clark at 7, Rex Chapman at 6. That's a good call. Kendrick Perkins, I completely disagree with you having him on this list at 5. Nate Burleson, you got him a little too high, although he belongs on this list at 4. Emmanuel Acho at 3. I don't think he belongs on this list. He's annoying, but not the worst. I don't think Jalen Rose belongs on this list at number 2. And then you got Magic at number 1. And I understand Magic was bad at broadcasting, but I wouldn't put him at number 1. Now go ahead and continue to defend your list.
Maybe I'm taking too much into when Jalen Rose tried to lecture people why we shouldn't use Mount Rushmore. I immediately reacted by doing more Mount Rushmore. I'm probably on the Mount Rushmore of people that use Mount Rushmore. I do various lists, pound for pound fighters, greatest wide receivers, greatest Miami Hurricanes. But I'm going to Mount Rushmore my ass off the rest of my life. I want to say something about my 10 through 7-ish. Those were just athletes, in all fairness, that just were not natural broadcasters. They weren't. They were big names. They were given big roles maybe before they were ready, and they weren't allowed to grow into it. Not everyone is a Tony Romo or a Greg Olson. It's like a natural. Like you're even seeing with Tom Brady how he's getting better and better the more reps he gets. So those guys are a little bit different. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. Most of that other list, these guys try to become these social justice warriors and these panderers, and they try to lecture America on how to think. And I've said this to you, Jason. A guy like Ryan Clark was probably effective at spreading white guilt about 4 or 5 years ago, where everyone had to pretend like, wow, that's deep, man. That's deep. Now I think most people in 25 are like, oh, geez, just get out of here. I think it's over in terms of spreading the white guilt and having people pretend that these guys are worth listening to.
The more I think about it, you've got a good list.
I do. Great list.
Completely disagree about Kendrick Perkins, though. And I know he's not the best, but he has grown on me. I think Kendrick is authentic. I think he struggled a little bit early and maybe kind of played the social media game. But I tend to enjoy Kendrick Perkins as kind of a poor man's Charles Barkley. Maybe I got a soft spot for him. I don't know. Rex Chapman, I love that you have him on this list because
he has not done a lot. Now again, didn't have a lot of reps, but he was on March Madness coverage one time on CBS. I think he looks so uncomfortable, and I'm like, Rex, I respect the fact you had a good NBA career. You did. But just go back to tweeting your white guilt. Jeez, it just was not a broadcaster, seriously.
The thing Rex Chapman was one of my favorite college athletes, and then I met him and thought like we hit it off initially, and then he went over the top woke. At some point he started texting me privately criticisms of me, and I'm like, well, man, what happened to Rex Chapman?
Jason,
and many people say it's the drugs.
Nobody lectures to black people quite like white liberals. So there you go. You learned your lesson before.
Whitlock, I can't believe you don't think Emmanuel Acho belongs in this list.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Acho offers nothing of substance. He is Mr. Lecture white people. That's his entire shtick. And in fact, he does it while saying, I can do this because I'm African, so I don't have the built-in historical traumas that the black people in America have. So I'm more qualified to lecture white people than the average American black. That's his entire shtick.
Yeah, what I'm thinking, I'm confused, or I've confused myself, even though it's a list that I asked for. The worst athletes turned broadcaster, and then I'm sitting here looking at this. I was like, "How did Jamel Hill not make this list?" And I'm like, "Well, she's not an athlete, Jason."
Not an athlete.
So, it's almost like I'm, yeah. And there are. I like Andrea Carter, so I would never put her on this list. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
Here's another thing. Jason, two things. Number one, I was going to put about a bunch of WNBA players turned analysts. Most of them I find incredibly bad and unlikable. But then I said, that's easy. I could have done a top 100 of that. But TJ, to your point about Acho, he has the most serious discussions or conversations. But here's the funny thing. I believe his brother is Sam Acho.
Yes.
I like him a lot. I think he does a good job on college football. And when he's on College Football Live on ESPN, something that I watch daily throughout the season, Sam is one of my favorite personalities. He's got a great spirit to him. He's very well read, and he does a great job of making points. So it's funny. I would actually put Sam in one of my favorite ex-athletes to do this.
He has humility, Steve. He spoke at Willow Creek Church up in Chicago, and I think maybe both of them did. And the consensus from everybody was like, "Oh, Sam has humility, and Emmanuel Acho has taken Oprah's advice and being told that he's the future golden boy. That the worst thing that could have possibly happened to Emmanuel Acho was Oprah's comments on him. He bought it, and it was over from that moment on. And he's been terrible. I mean, again, I'd say like third on the list. He might be low, Steve. I mean, I get that Magic was bad, but Acho should be up in contention for the top spot here.
I'm going to ask this, Steve, and then we'll move back. I want to get TJ's comments, but is it oversight that RG3 isn't on this list, or is it a belief in RG3? Because RG3 is a good game broadcaster. I wish he dressed more appropriately, but he's a good game broadcaster. But a lot of stuff he does over social media is really bad.
You know what? Now that I think about it, anyone that was from 10 to 8 on my list, I'm sorry, guys. I want to apologize to all of you all-time greats. RG3 should be in one of your places. So either LT, Montana, Emmett. No, seriously. RG3, I remember when DeMar Hamlin got carried off the field, right? And it was a big national story. Remember, we did some shows on that. They stopped the game. They ended the game. And the next week or two, I remember they're doing a live remote from Buffalo, and RG3 wears a DeMar Hamlin jersey, which is, I guess, but he wore it backwards. And I'm like, hold on, is this about DeMar Hamlin or you now? Give me a break. The guy's clinging to his life. And JB, Coach JB had one of the great tweets. He retweets and goes, "Bro, you look like a clown, homie." So shout out to JB too. I mean, so yeah, RG3, his rants are unbearable. The fact that he puts up his wife as a mantelpiece and not his Heisman Trophy is even odder. But yeah, you're right. It's an oversight. I erred. So RG3 belongs in the top 10.
All right. Now that TJ's mic is working, TJ, I want to go back to the original question. Just as a white guy watching ESPN and seeing RG3 and others consistently troll white people, what do you think?
Well, I don't watch ESPN. I haven't watched ESPN for a long time because for the very reason you're talking about. It is so one-sided. It's such a lecture. It is. They've bought the cultural Marxism of black people are all oppressed, white people are all oppressors, and the white men just need to shut up while the rest of us talk about our issues with the women and black people. That is ESPN. And so, in fact, I don't really know anybody that watches ESPN. Truly, I don't. And so, the only contention that I would have that differs from yours, Jason, is I don't think Disney and ESPN want to get sued. And so they don't want him going as far as he went this time. They're fine with the RG3 thing, although she's a woman. So I think that, that goes against what they're hoping for. But I think that they were totally fine with the Peter Schrager thing. Yes, let's embarrass white men on air. That's perfect. And then afterward, let's berate them even further off air so that we have to apologize it on the air and everybody else at ESPN's going, what are you doing, Ryan? Why are you Mr. Tough Guy all the time? Because that is Ryan's shtick, obviously. Every chance he gets to tell you that he's tough, he is tough. And, I should correct a mistake from yesterday that I said he doesn't seem like the guy to apologize. Boy, was that wrong. He apologizes about once a month. And so I just think, yes, this is their narrative, but I don't think ESPN likes reckless. I don't think any TV network likes reckless, right? And I think Ryan's reckless. That is his thing. He pretends to be this guy who's thought through everything, but he's not. He's reckless and he can't control his emotions. So he's going to get them sued and eventually get himself fired.
If they thought that, I don't think he would have been on air this morning. They would have put him in timeout. They put Paul Feinbaum in timeout for nothing.
Nah, he's a conservative, though.
They put him in time. Paul Feinbaum for nothing. And Ryan Clark, 3 apologies in 3 months, but it's Paul Feinbaum that gets set down for a brief time and then out kicking them, expose them, and so they backpedal.
That's a violation of their values, though, not a lawsuit potential. Paul Feinbaum is never in any he's never in jeopardy of getting them sued. He smiles and says wild things about college football. That's my point, though. That my point is that they none of this has to do with the lawsuit until it does. I think they're still open to a lawsuit from what all these guys said, Pat McAfee included. And the day that comes, things are in jeopardy, truly.
Oh.
And also, go ahead.
Oh, you've just argued the other side. You've just taken the scales off my eyes. If they suspend him, that might encourage someone to sue. They would be admitting guilt. If they don't, and it was no big deal, we didn't even suspend him, we just kept things moving, that is most likely what's transpiring.
Well, Jason, look at the plight of Kurt Schilling. Had a very good career. You can make a case he should be in the Hall of Fame, but he had very, very conservative leanings. I think he made it clear. What did he ever say that was all that reckless in comparison to other people? The bottom line is he was on the wrong side of the street.
Well, here's the other thing, Jason. If you take Ryan Clark off the air and you don't take Scott Van Pelt, who contributed to that conversation, and you don't take Pat McAfee, who took time out of his own show to do it, now, first of all, it's a major violation of all the ESPN values. If anything, you're taking the white guys off the air, not the black guy. But there would be an uproar. So you can't take him off the air. There's just no way to do it with the current setup.
Well, I was about to say the 3 strikes would protect Scott Van Pelt. He hasn't made these mistakes, but someone could definitely argue that Pat McAfee's had to apologize several times on ESPN. So good point. Let me keep it moving, move on to a different topic. Albert Breer and Bill Belichick. Albert Breer said something over Twitter that really caught my eye and kind of blew my mind about, hey, let's take another look at the GOAT conversation. So Albert Breer tweeted out, I've long felt Belichick was the GOAT, but now, ... Reed without Patrick Mahomes, 184, 123 and 1, 13 playoff berths, 8 division titles, 1 Super Bowl appearance, 11 playoff wins, 8 top 10 offenses. Belichick without Brady, 83, 101, 2 playoff berths, 0 division titles, 0 Super Bowls, 1 playoff win, 0 top 10 offenses. I'm like, hey, man, if Andy Reid gets 1 more Super Bowl, I do think we may have a discussion here. This is fascinating, or is Albert Breer just reconstructing history? But I found this tweet very spicy. Steve, what do you say?
The winner of this whole Carolina Belichick thing are 2 people. Tom Brady and really Bobby Kraft. Those 2 guys should say nothing. Just lay back. Let this lay out and let it play out. And history will show the importance. But look, what Breer stated are facts. And the one thing about Andy Reid that's been impressive, even beyond the McNabb years, where they made, 4 or 5 NFC championship games, went to a Super Bowl, when other quarterbacks had to come in, they had pockets of success. He almost became like this quarterback whisperer. And even before Mahomes, Jason, Kansas City won a pretty good amount of games with Alex Smith, who coming in to that organization, wasn't he thought of as a number 1 pick bust? He kind of reconstructed and resuscitated that career. Now, again, they didn't make any Super Bowls there. I thought it was fascinating, Jason. Late last night on my YouTube feed came up a video from Sports Hub 98.5 in Boston. I've been consuming a lot of their content this offseason because of Belichick. And one of their guys did a top 10 list of dirtbag moves by Belichick. And I think they wanted to use another D-bag, but it's a family show. And it's actually egregious with the way the guy laid it out. You're like, wow. And as I'm watching this, guys, the one thing it kept coming to mind was, wow, Tom Brady was actually more important than I thought. He really was the straw that stirred that drink.
TJ?
Well, one thing, Steve, I think Alex Smith began to resuscitate his career with Jim Harbaugh in San Francisco.
Okay, fair enough.
He was already starting. He had about 2 years there before Colin Kaepernick took over.
enough.
And so, but I do agree. Obviously, Andy Reid is a quarterback whisperer. I have a little bit of problem with what Albert Breer is doing. He said Belichick has had 0 top 10 offenses. Oh, did I miss something where Belichick is an offensive wizard? Is that his thing? Because he had not during the Tom Brady reign during that time. Tom Brady's back was covered by top 5 defenses virtually every year. You know, the guy who everybody had the GOAT conversation during the Tom Brady years while it was all happening was Peyton Manning. How many Super Bowls did he get? 2. Why'd that happen? Because he didn't have defenses. So we shouldn't pretend that Tom Brady's back was not completely covered by defense the entire time that he was there. And that was Bill Belichick's specialty. So, I mean, look, at Albert's, he's got a little bit of something here, but also Andy Reid had an entire career before he got to Pat Mahomes. And he had it with a different team and all that. The vast majority of all of Belichick's years were right there in the thick of that. He was with the Browns after that, and he had a few years with the Patriots with quarterbacks that he was trying to develop. Certainly not his thing. So it's a very apples to oranges contention. And even though you have the greatest quarterback of all time, which I think he did, there's a reason he got to that many Super Bowls when Peyton Manning, who you could argue is just as good, perhaps more talented, only got 2.
Yeah, I think that Belichick has clearly taken his eye off the ball. That the his last 3 to 5 years in New England, not as committed as the first 15, 17 years, or how I can't remember all the years he was at New England. But he just sometimes success and at that level that much can undermine you. Steve, he's Marvin Hagler sleeping on satin sheets. What, it was a satin sheet?
Well, okay, but keep this in mind. Marvin Hagler only lost 1 fight. It's not like he lost the last 7 out of 10. He beat John Mugabe in March of '86. Actually had kind of retired. They had to talk him into fighting Ray Leonard, and at least half the people that watched that fight thought he beat Ray Leonard. It's not like he got knocked out here. Bill Belichick is getting knocked out like Michael Spinks against Tyson. I mean, they're getting blown out against P4 teams this year, guys. The average score when they play a P4 team is 40-11. Now, TJ, you made a lot of good points. I will not push back on any, but to be fair to Belichick, I do believe the last 5 to 6 years in New England were really bad, though, and it clouds the judgment of a lot of people. And I just go back to this, Jason. Mac Jones actually had a very good rookie year. Mac Jones seems like he's going to be a starter one day. I like what I'm seeing from him. I like Mac Jones. But when you say, okay, well, we need a new coordinator, who's going to run this kid? It's going to be Joe Judge, a special teams guy, and Matt Patricia, a career defense. That's going to be the guy that's going to lead. Come on, that's on you. And the way he drafted, Jason, look up the last 4 to 5 drafts that were all engineered by Belichick. He struck out a lot.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I'm Cleopatra or whatever. I just, Belichick has, just keep it at 1,000. He's just, the wrong head is leading him around, and he's making a fool of himself. And if people want to start having a conversation about his reputation as opposed to Andy Reid, I'm not going, I'll disagree with them slightly, but I'm not going to object and pretend like it's completely out of line. The guy's made a fool of himself. And it started his last 3 to 4 years, or once he dumped Brady, and that does change the perception of him. And it does, to me, what does Andy Reid have now? 3 Super Bowl titles? Do they have 3? Yeah, they got 3. He's got an appearance in Philly. And 2 more appearances in right. Holy cow, 3,
7 or 8 appearances.
Yeah, he's got like 6, 7, 8 Super Bowl appearances. He gets a couple of more, and I think it's a fair conversation and a real conversation where if Belichick had retired, even just last year or 2 years ago when he got let go, if he had just retired, I think his reputation would be unchallenged, regardless of the last 3-4 years in New England. He's opened himself up to this, and his reputation's being rewritten in real time, and he can be caught as the GOAT coach, because the other thing is, and maybe he'll move into media and he'll restore some likability to himself. But I just don't think he's a likable guy right now. I think most people think, man, that's a bad guy with no sexual discipline who went through some sort of change of life deal. He better come up with some great excuse for what's happened here with him and this young girl. It's just
We might be
bad.
in the minority there, Jason. We might be in the minority there. I totally agree with you. For the record, I totally agree with you. Do you know how many people I hear defending him and actually championing that he can pull a 24-year-old girl? Like that, there is a group of people who thinks that's amazing and that every guy should be doing that.
I don't think anybody with any life savvy is remotely shocked that a multi-millionaire former NFL coach could pull a 24-year-old in this version of America and where America. There's no surprise here. The only surprise here is that he went public with it.
Yeah.
That's the surprise.
Jason,
What-
TJ, I've maintained this. The relationship is not my business. I really don't even care. But the fact that you are trotting her out, and before the games, look, a lot of college coaches' wives will come on the field after a victory and they take a picture. I saw that with Mario Cristobal last week. It's a great scene because as a college coach, I've always maintained you're probably no worse than the second or third most recognizable figure on that campus. That's the God's honest truth. I think a lot of students don't even know what the school president or the chancellor looks like. At a lot of universities, they know what the football coach looks like, and they probably know what the wife looks like. They've seen pictures. But when she's coming on the field during warm-ups and they're smooching, and she's such an out front presence, if this was all kept private, I think we would have forgotten about it back in February. The fact it became more and more of a story, UNC did not bargain for this.
Guys, you've both seen Top Gun, yes? The original Top Gun. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember Kelly McGillis?
Yes.
The girl from okay. Do you know why they couldn't put her in Top Gun Maverick? Because she looks
She's
like a
about my
whale.
size, isn't she?
She looks like a whale, yes. And she cut her hair and she became a lesbian. Okay. This is what's happened to Bill Belichick. At one point in time, he was the supermodel, the guy and then at the end, you can't look at him the same way. That's what you're describing here. At the end, like now, I can't, like when I watch the original Top Gun now, like she's not the same person because I know who she is now. That is a problem. And that's what you're describing here with Belichick. It's like, it's hard for me to think of 2012, 2013 Belichick in his prime, 2014 when they won the Super Bowl, when I just see him, being paraded around by his 24-year-old girlfriend who writes his emails for him. It's tough to see him in the same lens.
You know what TJ just showed? Kevin Samuels was not wrong. That wall, it's Floyd Mayweather. It's undefeated, man. Rocky Marciano, Terrence Crawford, undefeated. That wall. Whew.
Let me squeeze in one more topic before I let you guys go. Mike Florio has tweeted out something that makes me think the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime may be facing some real turbulence. That plane may not land. It may get diverted to a different airport. It's an innocent tweet, but if you really read into it, I think there's something here. As the blowback to the Bad Bunny Super Bowl performance continues, Lee Greenwood makes a pitch to replace him, which raises a very real question. Will some other network produce an alternative halftime show? And I'm like, Florio thinks there's a possibility that another network would produce a Super Bowl halftime. I didn't think that was a possibility just because, the NFL is on every network that matters. But I think there are enough people that think this is a bad idea, that this conversation and question isn't going away. And and I think someone needs to alert Stephen A. Smith, or maybe Stephen A. Smith is doing the defense of Jay-Z and Bad Bunny and the people that want this kind of character associated with Super Bowl halftime. Stephen A. Smith running out to defend the Bad Bunny decision is an indication like that it needs defense. Oh, so they've put Stephen A. Smith on the job? And so let's play SOT number 2 here and watch Stephen A. defend and support Bad Bunny.
And then Speaker Johnson coming out now. It's Super Bowl Sunday.
I don't hear it.
Since when you care about Super Bowl Sunday? And then Speaker Johnson coming out now. It's Super
Don't
Bowl
hear it.
Sunday. Since
Does
when
the
you care about
audience
Super
hear
Bowl
it?
Sunday?
I don't hear it.
Why?
Yeah. We
Because
hear
he
it.
sings in Spanish.
You hear it, TJ?
We got a whole bunch of
Yep.
people in here. Hell,
so it's just me.
I know a lot of people in Miami. I got a home down there in the area. English is second language. And I don't mind. Don't bother me. I love my Hispanic brothers and sisters. Love them to death. I'm mad I don't speak better Spanish. You sitting there walking around acting like it's a damn shame. No. They're great for this country. If all of us could come together and understand the importance of compromise, it's great for this country. Make me sick. Bad Bunny is a great selection by Rock Nation for Super Bowl Sunday. I don't mind at all. The NFL is trying to globalize its brand. That's what the NFL is trying to do. That's why they played games in Berlin. That's why they were in Ireland just a week ago. That's why they've been in France. That's why they're going to London. That's why they've been in Germany, because they see soccer and how big that's gotten. What if they globalize their brand? Because it's all about the money, right? The owners want more. How do you get more? You can get but only so much from the American citizen. You got to go worldwide. The NBA has done it. Soccer has done it. Baseball's doing it. Shohei Ohtani is the best player on the planet. This dude might be the best since Babe Ruth. Where you from? But we got Speaker Johnson spewing such ignorance. Come on, man. Come on now. You don't know, don't comment. Or at least ask the question. Don't act like you know. I don't know what you know, but I don't act like I know.
Yes, you do. Stephen A. Smith has spent the last year acting like he knows something about politics, and he knows nothing about it. So this is a globalism movement here that Stephen A. Smith is defending, and saying anybody that objects to this, they're crazy and they just don't. There's so much money to be made and blah blah blah. And everything I heard is just like, this is why I hate this Super Bowl halftime. It has nothing to do with a celebration of American football. It's a globalist movement. Steve, your reaction to what Stephen A. Smith is saying?
First things first, Lee Greenwood. Well, he's proud to be an American. So, yeah, I'm all for that. Couple things, though. I will be in Miami next week. We play Louisville Friday night. Can't wait to go out there to Hard Rock Stadium, the Asylum. I want to say one thing. As someone that knows a lot of people in Miami, I spend a pretty good amount of time there. Spanish is not a second language. It might have been in 1950 when all the Cubans were being thrown over, the whole Castro thing. There's a lot of, I would say, proud Americans who are immigrants, who are Latin, who speak English. In fact, I would say at this point, they're at very least bilingual, if not English being their first language. So that's an absolute lie. That's an absolute lie, because I spend a lot of time outside the game. And if you ever go to Little Havana, they love the American principles. I had my eyes open when I visited there. My friend took me, James, and you look at the signage and you look at like some of the statues that are put up. Trust me, they love America. They're not for globalism. And I have no problems conversing with people. You know why? They actually know English very well. They're fluent at it. It's unbelievable. I don't need like a Rosetta Stone on my phone. But globalism, yeah, well, Stephen A., that's the whole thing. The NFL may be trying to expand their brand. I get it. But I think a lot of people are against globalism. And you know what's? It's not even Stephen A. Smith now. That argument right there, straw man A. Smith. That's a straw man argument that he's making. And I don't think that the Bad Bunny pushback is really about any of that. I think it's the fact some of the stuff he does in terms of the cross-dressing and the images he puts out. That's something that he didn't even address.
I mean, the English thing matters a lot. He's not going to sing a single song in English. The vast majority of America is not going to understand a word of this. That does matter in a country where we don't have an official language. Marjorie Taylor Greene has put a bill on the House floor to try to make it our official language or whatever. But everybody knows English is our official language. It's Stephen A. Smith is such a clown. I don't even know where to start. Why don't we, as long as we're just giving away parts of the country, why don't we the Russians can just take over California and we'll have to learn how to speak Russian. And the Chinese, they can have Washington while they're at it. Philippines, they'll take Georgia. And we'll just go on forever. They can have all of our states and we'll just have to learn 15 different languages. It is so stupid. Okay, it goes back to the argument that the leftists try to say, well, we're a nation of immigrants. Well, no, we're not. We're a nation of settlers. We settled here and created something ourselves. And then from there, immigrants came in and they were required to assimilate to our values. Everybody pretends America is just an idea. It's not. We are also a people. Yes, it's a proposition. We have a constitution. And you have a requirement to meet our values if you want to stay here. You do not have a right to come in. America takes in half the immigrants of the world every single year. And the expectation for that charity, because it is charity, you have no right to be here in the United States, is that you will come here and you will apply as best you can to fit our values. And so that means learning English. That means following our laws. That means contributing to society. That means all of our values you have to make as your own. And while we're at it, you should denounce the citizenship of the country that you came to and try to become a citizen here. This dual citizenship is crap. And so the entire idea of what Stephen A. Smith thing is leftist garbage. We shouldn't buy one word of it.
Amen to any and all of that. Guys, I'm going to ask you, particularly TJ, I'm going to let you go. Steve, I want to ask you just if you had some thoughts you wanted to get off your chest before I get to JB and my NFL picks. If you had some thoughts about last night's Giants-Eagles game, what did that game say more about, the Giants or the Eagles?
The Eagles' offense is hurts. See what I did there? I don't look. JB can break down the all 22, but Jalen Hurts, I see too many plays where he's getting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi, and the ball's not getting off on time. There's something there, and I'm beginning to feel for A.J. Brown. You can say that he's selfish, but as a wide receiver, your main contribution is to catch the ball and matriculate the ball upfield. I actually feel his pain, okay? Now, with that said, I got to eat a little crow. Jackson Dart played pretty well. Now, I still have some concerns, Jason, about the style of play and how physical it is and the sustainability, but he brings an energy and a juice to that team. The other thing, the Giants have to part ways with Russ. Don't let him cook. It's toxic. Did you see the reaction of the crowd? Did you see the way Dayball went into that emergency tent saying, hey, if he can live, he can play? I've never seen anything like it. Bring in Jameis. Jameis is involved. People like him. He makes it fun. And Russ, I think, cannot operate in New York because it's become absolutely toxic. Those are my thoughts.
The instant boos, he plays one play, throws a bad pass, and the boos were just enormous and over the top. And it was actually halfway humorous.
That's funny.
But I agree. The Russell Wilson thing is over. But here's I'm got to eat some crow too in terms of the way this team has responded to Jackson Dart. Yeah. What I saw from Jackson Dart last night. What I saw from Dayball, the way Dayball was concerned, it wasn't a concern of like, hey, I'm going to get fired because I'm not going to have Jackson Dart. It was a concern of like, hey, man, I think this kid is special. Wow. Please, dear God, don't let him be hurt because we can do some things. The way Dayball responded, he's a big believer in Jackson Dart.
Right, but Jason, don't be naive. Dayball's thinking, you know what he can do? He can save my job. That had a lot to do with it, Jason. Let's be honest. If Dayball's job was not on the line, he would say, okay, let's make sure he's okay. My future, our future's tied to him. His future right now is about saving his job because there's already reports that the Giants are going to move on from him and the GM right now. The other thing we did not talk about, Cam Scatabo. Here's a kid that was or young man that was incredibly productive at Arizona State. But he slid down the draft board, and I'm thinking someone's going to get a pretty good player in the late rounds. He's been an absolute revelation. And the way you make it easy for a Jackson Dart, feed that guy consistently.
Yeah. Steve, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. We're going to get JB, or you know what? We'll come back and I'm going to do my NFL picks, and then we'll get to JB. So the Fearless Five. X. I've never seen this from an all-time great defender. We've seen maybe Randy Moss quit on some plays during the game, and he's a Hall of Famer. He was a wide receiver and a diva. But I've never seen it from a defensive lineman. He just stops in the middle of the field twice and kind of makes no effort to go after Trevor Lawrence. And you could think that, hey, like, oh, he didn't realize. He thought the play was dead. He thought the refs blew the whistle. Well, in the post game, when he's talking about this, he gives no indication that that's what he thought, that he thought the play was over and thought the play was dead. He made no mention of it, as best I could tell, and I listened this morning. All right, welcome back. Time for my Fearless Five. I hope you're ready. I went 3-2 last week. Should have gone 4-1. I'm 11-14 for the season. I promise you, we're going at least 4-1 this week, maybe 5-0. I feel very confident. Tough picks this week, but I feel very confident. All right, let's get to my first Fearless Five pick. The Broncos, -6.5 over the Jets. This game is in London. There's no home field advantage for the Jets. Not that I think they would have much of a home field advantage, even if they were playing in New York. But the Broncos, they're right in the thick of things. I think beating the Jets by a touchdown, that should be light work. The Jets are the first team to open the season through since 1933, the first team to open the season through games since 1933. The Broncos' defense rank is second in the NFL, allowing 16.8 points. This game's in London. I love the Broncos. The Chargers, -3.5 over the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 1-16 in their 17 games against teams with a winning record. What might have been had the Dolphins picked Justin Herbert instead of Tua. The Chargers selected Herbert one pick after the Dolphins chose Tua in 2020. The Dolphins made a mistake. The Chargers are going to prove it. They're going to cover the 3.5. I think this. I don't think you'll have to worry about this game at all. I think the Chargers win by double digits here. Game number 3, the Patriots. This is my favorite pick of the weekend. The Saints are on a high. They pulled off a gimmick win last week. They're not going to go 0-17. They're done. They're toast. The Patriots are on the rise. Drake May is starting to prove he's the real deal. The Patriots -3.5 at the Saints. I think this is easy. The Saints have lost 9 straight games against the spread as underdogs. The Saints are averaging an NFC worst 18.4 points a game. I love the Patriots. This is my favorite pick of the weekend. Finally, for the NFL, I got one college pick. The Rams, -7.5 at the Ravens. The Ravens are dog doo-doo. I mean, absolutely. Their defense is brutal. They don't have a quarterback without Lamar. This game, if the Rams don't cover this deal, and I know they're playing at Baltimore, but if the Rams don't win this by 14 to 21 points, I would be shocked. I love the Rams here, -7.5 at the Ravens. And then finally, let's move to college football. And you guys know I love to talk about Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. Iowa State only -2.5 at Colorado? Is this a trap? Is this a setup? Is this for squares like me to hop all over Iowa State? Well, I'm going to be a square. I'm going to hop all over Iowa State. They win this game by 8 points, in my opinion, at Colorado. Colorado during the prime era is 10-16 against power conference teams. The Cyclones are one of the most disciplined teams in college football. Expect Colorado to melt down, have about 10 penalties. Iowa State will have about 2 or 3. This game will be relatively close. Like Iowa State will be winning by 3 or 4 points. Then they'll get a late field goal touchdown. They're going to cover this easy. Those are the Fearless 5. I feel very, very confident. We'll take a short break and come back with Coach J.B. Next. This premature fumble, how this happens back-to-back weeks. It's like these guys live in a bubble. It's like, did you not watch the Indianapolis game? Did you not see Adonai Mitchell cost the Colts a game and you come out and do it against the Arizona Cardinals? Paul, my contention is these players are so hyper-focused on their celebrations now that they can't wait to celebrate. You know, that when they're running with the football, they're not thinking about doing their job. They're thinking about, hey, what dance am I going to do? What celebration am I going to do? And that's how you end up dropping the ball before you cross the goal line. I got to give Jonathan Gannon credit, and maybe it's because this guy's a third-string running back and he's expendable, but at least he got yelled at. Imari did in real time. But what do you think of my theory that it's the premature celebration is the thought? This guy about the 10-yard line starts thinking about how he's going to dance, and he lets the ball go so he can begin his dance and his hey, look at me deal. That there's just way too much focus on celebrations in the NFL.
But what do I know?
What do I know? I know that it's time for Jason Brown, Coach J.B., to join the show, and I have to admit, this is turning into my favorite part of the week, ending the week with J.B. that, you know, I have to reluctantly admit the what do I know guy actually knows a lot about football, and he's, you know, ahead of the curve. You know, you can giggle and laugh at J.B. and say he's over the top, but man, he's getting proven right on a lot of stuff. JB, welcome back to the show.
You got me? You hear me?
Oh, I hear you great. Let's start with last night's game. What's the story from last night's game? The Eagles are in trouble, or the Giants are better than we thought?
Jalen hurts the Eagles. I've been saying for 2 years, they win in spite of him, not because of him. It's really simple. My eyes work when it comes to quarterback play. They have won in spite of him for 2 years. He hasn't gotten better. Mechanically got better from year 1 to year 2, but since then he's digressed in every single aspect. And I think the narrative is, well, he threw his first interception in 330 attempts, coach. Well, that's BS. That's Fugazi. I'd rather have him throw 10 picks by now and throwing into the teeth of the coverage and playing real football instead of getting under the center 4 times and running tush push. The tush push has digressed him in such a manner that I don't believe people on a macro level have thought this out. We're more worried about the tush push than involving Saquon Barkley. And Daniel Jones won a playoff game the last time I checked when he had Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones looks really good again when they have who? Jonathan Taylor. Guess what? Running backs matter, doesn't it? The offense matters when you include certain people. Let me just break it down real quick for your audience. They got into the shotgun 44 out of 46 snaps last night, minus the 4 tush pushes. Let's just talk regular in the middle of the 20s football field, football playing. 44 46 snaps were in the shotgun, yet they run less RPO and they run less read option than they ever have under the other 3 coordinators. So this is their 4th coordinator. In fairness to Jalen, he has to learn a new offense every year, it seems like. Unfair on some level, but then you're also very high paid and you have to overcome and adapt. This is big boy football. There's no excuses. It's result-oriented business, so you got to live with it. But we're not really making this kid very comfortable, Jason. If I'm not going to run RPO in the shotgun or read option, so just so we're clear, every time I go like this and then I'm in a mesh, linebackers do something. So I either run an RPO off of it, which he's been very successful at, throwing the slant behind the defense, linebacker or whoever, or I do the same action, Jason, and what do? I run read option with it. If I'm not doing either of those things, but I'm in the shotgun, what are we doing? Jalen Hurts isn't Tom Brady. He's not Matthew Stafford. He's not a sitting duck in the pocket delivering the football on time. He's an athlete who has a winning type of mindset. He's a winner. We can't coach that, but we can coach offense with him, and we're not making him very comfortable whatsoever. He looks very bad. I'm just going to be honest. He missed a ball. I blame it on a lot of things, but he missed that 9 route to Devontae Smith that you just can't miss. He's missed those all season long. He's rushing it. My whole adage as a quarterback coach, Jason, be quick, don't hurry. He's hurrying everything. And the pick that he throws late in the game, I just broke it down on my show. It was cover 0, Jason. My high school quarterback knew that. Why would you throw to that guy? Not only did you throw to that guy and throw the pick, but it's the guy you chose to throw to. Who was it? Do you know? No, you don't, huh? Because it wasn't A.J. Brown and it wasn't Smith. Why are you not even looking to the better player side? If I'm going to make that decision, why would I throw to the guy that we don't even know? I'm looking over here and seeing his cover 0, A.J. Brown's butt naked in the end zone, and I throw a pick to lose the game, basically. I'm just telling you, something's going on there. I don't know what in the locker room, but Lane Johnson says, when I know the play before it comes in from our coordinator, we're predictable. And I believe him. I believe Lane Johnson's onto something, even though Saquon's going to take the higher road and say, no, I don't believe so. We're good. There's something going on in that locker room. That was the worst 4-0 team that I've seen in 20 years. So I think it is Fugazi. I think the Eagles are in trouble now. And I'm just mad the Rams lost to them. But go ahead.
So it could be just like it's a relatively new offensive coordinator, right? Isn't this his first year? And
it was last year.
He seems to be caught between maybe a rock and a hard place in terms of A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, what they want. You got Saquon Barkley, and then you have, hey, what's best for Jalen Hurts? It's like they're not managing that scenario very well, and maybe you have to blame the head coach because at the end of the day, the head coach should make the decision, give everybody clarity, be the bad guy. Hey, it's this way. Who do you blame here, JB?
I don't know. So I wasn't a Sirianni guy when he first took the podium as the new head coach, but he's sold me that he's figured it out. He's one of the most. I think now he's a guy that you have to say is an underrated guy as far as the value he brings to that organization, getting to 2 Super Bowls, winning one. I think he's figuring it out. I think he will address it. I'll at least going to give him the credit to address it. This is a guy who just won the Super Bowl, and it's a Philly fan base. I get it. They had a tough night last night, losing to my Dodgers. The Flyers lost. Jason, the Flyers lost. They're running out of Philly cheesesteak in Philly. I mean, it's a bad situation to be in Philly right now. I don't think anybody wants to live in Philadelphia right now. So you compile all that together. I think he'll address it. I think he'll figure it out. I think he's superseded expectations so far, and I just think we're in Philly and we're so hard on that fan base is so hard on sports teams that I think we're overdoing it. But at the same time, I think they're winning in spite of Jalen Hurts. If you put Jalen Hurts with the Cincinnati Bengals, he'd be in the UFL right now.
Wow. Tell me the other side of the story. The Giants, Jackson Dart. Is this real? Is this something to build on?
Yeah, because of the energy. Like the energy him and Scatterboo bring. I just nominated him to the all-white team for this year. That I do every year. The energy is a difference maker. Like I think energy matters. I think I've been in these scenarios as a coach, Jason. We beat a big time team, but the week prior we lose to a team we should have never lost to. That has to be killing Dayball today. They should have never lost to the team in New Orleans that didn't have a win. And this team could be a 3-3 football team that you're like, all right, pretty optimistic going into this gauntlet schedule that we have coming up. But now you're 2-4, and you're like, man, we've left some wins out there on the football field. The Dallas Cowboy game. I mean, this is really a team that you could sit here and say we could be a 4-1 football team, but they're 2-4, or a 4-2 team. They're 2-4, and I think this part is real. Scatterboo and him, the energy. I don't believe it lasts very long, though, because in the NFL, not for long acronym, I believe that's a huge thing. And I think eventually the book will be out there. Remember, this is a guy we didn't have a book on, meaning a scouting report. So we didn't have a time to come up with our, tendencies on him, like Russell Wilson, who has 15 years. Like, this is a difference. This will come to an end here in the next 3 or 4 weeks. But the energy's good. I think he has skill. I think the talent level's good. I don't think the team's good enough to sustain his success. And I believe eventually it'll come back down to earth and the Giants will be the Giants. They're not a good football team at the end of the day. So, it's a good story and all, but I don't believe his talent is that great to where he can overcome that. Now, if he comes and wins 9 games, people are going to be like, oh, this is the next Tom Brady or something. I don't see it, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think they're good enough around him, though.
All right, I hate to do it, but I feel like I got to do it. I got to talk about Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur showing some signs of humility, perhaps. Maybe he's learned a lesson. Let's start with SOT number 5. Shedeur acting a bit humble here.
And to get a little bit more excited, when you see a light at the end of the tunnel, for sure. So my job at first was, to prepare the defense, but I think I did a pretty good job. But they got Miles Garrett and everybody over there, so, But anyways, I think I did a pretty good job, and whatever my role is here, I'm thankful and I'm happy just to do that.
He's attempting to adjust and more normal personality. He said some other things kind of in support of Dylan Gabriel. I want to play a Ryan Clark aspect of this. Ryan Clark upset that Kevin Stefanski hasn't named Shedeur the second team quarterback officially. He's like, hey, I want to get through the week, blah, blah, blah. This triggered Ryan Clark, and then that triggered Luke McCown. But let's start with SOT number 6.
Whatever Kevin Stefanski says is fair because it's Kevin Stefanski's team and it's his process. I also think it's extremely obvious that Kevin Stefanski doesn't mess with Shedeur Sanders the way the outside public believes that he should. When you think about this process, it feels that Kevin Stefanski wasn't ready to draft Shedeur Sanders, and then upon drafting him, he didn't put a plan in place to handle the person. You have to understand with Shedeur Sanders is going to come more media attention, more scrutiny. He's going to be treated unlike anything else in that locker room or anything else we see in the league based on his position. He won't be treated like a backup. He won't be treated like a third stringer. He won't be treated like a practice squad guy. You're going to have to answer questions about him, which is why you need answers prepared. If he is still figuring it out, which he should be, which he is, give them a reason why. Give them a Shedeur Sanders reason why. Give them a Bailey Zappi reason why. Don't give them an excuse. And I'm in full agreement with Mina. If he is not named the backup quarterback, it's time to part ways. It's time to trade him. It's time to get him out of your locker room because clearly your plan for development is not to develop Shedeur Sanders as a future starter of your team. And too much comes with him if you don't see that sort of plan for him.
Ryan Clark said that. Luke McCown, former NFL quarterback, who, was marginal and has been through this process, had a great reaction that he posted over Twitter where he was like, hey, man, I've been in this spot. There's ways to handle this. And that, he said he played well in a game and then they came back and demoted him to number 3. And the reason was, it's like, hey, man, if we have to play McCown on short notice, it's not the best situation. But if we have to play him where we go into the week knowing he's going to be our starter, then we're going to go with him. McCown just added some context and some layering reasons why they may be handling Shedeur the way they are in Cleveland. I thought McCown made an excellent point. I don't think Shedeur needs to be drawing a line in the sand if he is the third-string quarterback behind Bailey Zappi or whomever this week. Shedeur Sanders still has a lot to prove. Your reaction to those two clips and that conversation about Shedeur?
I never heard of developing a fifth rounder. I didn't know that was our job. By the way, it's not Stefanski's job to develop Gillen Gabriel, who's in a third rounder either. Gillen Gabriel just happens to be better. And practice has proven that, or Shedeur would be starting. This ain't a conspiracy. We're in the NFL. Stefanski doesn't want to be fired any more than anyone else does. So, like, I don't understand why this thing is a conspiracy. If he was so good, why didn't they trade him instead of Flacco? Like, nobody wants him. Like, you already drew the line, Jason. You told the Ravens, don't take me. Like, how many times are we going to just keep making up stories for this guy? I've never seen a fifth-round guy talked about more than this guy. If he was good, Stefanski's two-time coach of the year, is he not?
I believe.
Two-time coach of the year, but now we're questioning him. Mr. Apology's questioning him. I'm so over the excuses that we keep bringing up. It's a dang shame, to be honest, that Dillon Gabriel is getting his time to shine, and it's just being overshined by this mockery that we keep bringing up in Shedeur Sanders as a fifth rounder. He's not Tom Brady. There's been one of those sixth-round guys that have actually worked up and earned it. And if Shedeur was good enough, he would have worked up and earned the spot. Like, that's really simple. I don't understand it. Like, are we talking about this as a conspiracy? The same conspiracy theory that we signed Deshaun Watson to the record contract? Is there a conspiracy there? Like, they signed 8 quarterbacks this year, Jason. They have paid 8 quarterbacks this year in Cleveland. Do you know that they've paid 8 quarterbacks and he's still not starting? Isn't that a telltale sign that maybe he's not that good? Like, what are we talking about?
I want to play a clip. I believe this is Chris Canty, who is making the argument that I was making, that people were giving me guff about, that I don't think Kevin Stefanski ever wanted Shedeur, and he has every right to not want Shedeur. Coaches have guys that they like, don't like. And I believe that Andrew Berry, the general manager, is the guy that wanted Shedeur. Black guy, playing to the crowd. It happens. It happens all the time. Most people have tried to blame Haslam. I've disagreed with blaming ownership on this, but here's Chris Canty arguing what I've always kind of argued. Play Satso.
Oh, it's clearly a disconnect. And I'm not quite sure whether or not they're going to get on the same page, that being the general manager, Andrew Berry, and the head coach, Kevin Stefanski. And I go back to the optics of the war room for the Cleveland Browns when they took Shedeur Sanders. You saw this icy stare down from both Stefanski and Berry. And, Evan, we all took that to mean that Shedeur Sanders was a pick that both of them were against, and that maybe, just maybe, Jimmy Haslam put his thumb on the scale and got involved in football decisions. But based on what we've been hearing and the speculation around the Cleveland Browns quarterback room, specifically with the rookies, it's clear that Dillon Gabriel is Kevin Stefanski's guy and Shedeur Sanders is Andrew Berry's guy. We have the versus between the general manager and the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. This might be the first time in this regime's tenure where you actually see a little bit of daylight between them. Because every major decision, including the big swing that they took to trade for and pay Deshaun Watson, everybody has been in lockstep. This feels like the first moment where there's a fissure, where there is a fraction in that working relationship, and we're watching it play out in real time on the field.
Jason, here's the problem. This organization has been full of blunders for, I don't know, forever, right? But let's just be honest. A 5th and a 3rd round quarterback draft pick does not scream, that's my replacement as an organization. That's not our organizational quarterback moving forward. You don't draft a 3rd and a 5th rounder at quarterback if that's what you think. So I think we're overdoing this whole thing. Canty speaks about fissures and fractures. I don't believe it's even that deep. They drafted 2 plug guys to fill in for a season they knew was going to be a bad one. And they knew they had a 40-year-old. They had Pickett. They knew they had some sort of bait there to trade, which they did give Pickett later. And now Flacco they've gotten rid of because they've signed 8 quarterbacks this year. They're clearly not happy, or they know this is not their future. They still have a contract to figure out with a guy named Deshaun Watson, who's been cleared, from what I understand, to come back now. So if Deshaun's cleared in the next 2 weeks, which I'm hearing he is, he's going to play by just sheer finances. So this is a mess, catastrophic mess. And they don't draft a 3rd and a 5th rounder in the same draft, Jason. What other organization's done that? And this isn't a 1st and 5th round in the RG3 and Commanders situation. This is a 3rd and 5th. And obviously the 3rd rounder got more reps in camp, and he's still proven he's better than the 5th round guy. And you've brought in other guys like Zappy and all these other guys because you're not sold that the 5th round guy can come in and win us a game. But you are sold on the 3rd round guy who just got beat at the wire by Minnesota over in Ireland. So, like, listen, I don't believe they know what they're doing, and I don't believe it's anyone. It's the owner. You got to look at the owner and look at the group. And at the end of the day, it's a bad organization. I mean, you put them right up there with the Jets and the Panthers and all these other places. They're just a bad organization. I think we're overthinking it because of who Shedeur Sanders' daddy is.
And couldn't it just be you make the original sin of Deshaun Watson, and that just creates chaos for 3 to 5 years within your organization, and they're just in the middle of that chaos, waiting till they've paid enough money or they come to some resolution with Deshaun Watson, and then they'll move on. And so I kind of really, really hope that they play Deshaun Watson because he's the only guy that's under contract to the Browns that has any chance, in my view, of being a franchise quarterback. And I know that's a very small chance that Deshaun Watson could recover, but at least he's done it before. And I wouldn't blame the Browns for being like, man, we done paid $200-some-odd million. Let's give it one more swing with Deshaun Watson. I think that actually makes sense.
They have to. There's no getting out of it because nobody's taken on that contract. He hasn't performed at all. He's been horrible since he's been a Brown, ever since all the allegations, accusations, and all that stuff. He's been horrific as a football player. Screw the off the field stuff. He just hasn't performed. He looks horrible. Jameis Winston looked 10 times better than him, throwing for 300 yards in his first start when he replaced him. And Deshaun hadn't thrown for 300 yet as a Cleveland Brown. Like, it's a bad thing, whether it's a mental space for all the other stuff or what. I don't know, but they can't do anything because what franchise in the world is going to take him? Nobody. So they're stuck with him, or they're going to figure a loophole out of this. And I don't know if there is any. They're gonna start him here shortly. I'm just telling you. And so then what happens? Now we have to hear Ryan Clark again when Shedeur goes back to 3 or even practice squad
or cut.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is a 5th round guy. I don't understand why we're still making up stories. Like, the guy's not that good. Let me ask you something, Jason. For all the naysayers, if Shedeur Sanders played in the SEC his last 2 years, are we talking about this guy at all? He's a nobody. He would be nothing in the SEC against that talent away from his daddy. So the problem is he's away from his daddy for the first time, and he's not there to change his diapers. I think the best thing for him, and I just got into a full-blown argument on my show about this, which is these I call them the prime sexuals. They don't understand, Jason, that let this kid hit a wall. Let him grow up. You clearly seen a speech that was written for him, and now I look at him as just be yourself. Do the mime thing. I expect that from you now more than that fake speech, because now that fake speech shows me that I'm smelling it. I got a shot at trying to get some film here. So let me be politically correct in my statement. It even comes off faker to me. Like, Jason, Deion's not there for him. That's the best thing that this kid, if he was a grown man, could ask for. Go through some trials and tribulations on your own, son, and face the music, and then grow from there. but we're trying to coddle this kid still while his daddy's not there to do so. The media now is coddling him. And all these old people, the prime sexual, everybody's coddling him. Like, let this kid hit a wall on his own. Let him face some adversity. And let's see what he's really made of. He's a 5th rounder. We don't owe you nothing, son.
Let me move to a little college football. I'm going to let you get on with your weekend. And we'll start with
smoking a
Iowa
brisket
State.
you're not going to be here for. Smoking a brisket, but you're not going to be here, so it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Iowa State is playing Colorado, and I think the spread's just 2.5. Obviously, I'm anti-Dion, and so I'm hopping all over the Iowa State over Iowa State. Am I crazy? What am I missing here? Does Colorado got a chance to pull an upset here against Iowa State?
They played decent versus TCU on defense, and I think the odds makers are on that side of things since Iowa State goes to Cincy and loses a game last week. I think it's shifted there. Beck isn't playing as well as we thought he would at Iowa State lately. The quarterback, good friend of mine's son, a USFL coach. I think that's where the odds are. I bet you sharp money comes in late here on Iowa State, I would bet. But right now, I wouldn't be shocked if it's a field goal game late. Like, I don't think Iowa State's that good. I really don't. But Colorado's not very good. But I think that their last 2 performances, respectively, individually, TCU for Colorado and losing to Cincinnati has shifted the odds. That's what I'm thinking it is. I think it's fool's gold. I think they're both pretty average teams, and I think it's a field goal game between 2 average to below average teams.
That sounds like a stay away from me. Indiana is only getting, I think, 6.5 at Oregon. That doesn't make sense to me, and I know, Indiana's halfway decent, but at Oregon's not going to win this by more than a touchdown. I find that hard to believe.
I think the Indiana thing versus Illinois has also shifted a lot of people's money. And here's why. Because SC goes and plays them and loses the next week. They think Illinois is better than they are, getting put 56 on by Indiana. And I believe Indiana's offense, and just follow me on this chain of events, Indiana's offense is much better than Ohio State's offense. Ohio State plays Illinois this weekend in Champaign. I think Illinois is going to cover the 14.5 versus Ohio State. And then you act Indiana going to Oregon, and you add all these common denominators and these teams that play each other mixed in there. It messes with money, Jason, contrary to belief. So Oregon usually loses a game during the season. Lanning has has lost a game somewhere, but I don't believe it happens this week. I think Oregon, after the Penn State win, having a bye, getting healthy, Dante Moore's playing well, I think Oregon beats Indiana, brings them back down to earth a little bit. Now, if Indiana wins this game, now we're going to be talking shoe-in playoff. We're going to be talking, are they the team to beat, blah, blah, blah. I think Oregon beats them at home. The line is a scary one. Is there a hook on it? What is it? 6? It's a hook on it. See, if you said 6, it'd be different. Now I'm saying, is it a touchdown? Is it a touchdown and an extra point? That hook, it scares me. I'm gonna roll Oregon winning by a touchdown, 7 points.
I got them winning by 12. Finally, JB, to the NFL, Lions at Chiefs. I think this is like, people are kind of 50-50 on this deal. I think somewhat of a must-win for the Kansas City Chiefs. I just don't think they can afford to lose another one after blowing that game last week. Lions kind of fat and happy. If they win, this will be their 5th straight win. Lions at Chiefs, your thoughts?
The Lions have figured out their new offensive coordinator after losing Ben Johnson, which everybody thought was, including myself, thought would be a problem. I love Dan Campbell for rallying these troops and getting everything together. Your point of Sirianni needs to do in Philly, he's done in Detroit, rallying these troops. Here's the issue. I think Detroit's clicking right now. The dual-headed monster in the back with Gibbs and Montgomery. present a problem. And then Goff is a great regular season quarterback. I wouldn't bet your money on him in the playoffs, but he's a great regular season quarterback. He's got weapons and James Williams out there and Amon St. Brown. I don't think the Chiefs are very good. I don't think they have enough weapons. He threw for 300. Mahomes did last week. They still lose the game. They're getting a little healthier on offense. They have an opportunity to get healthier so that the optimistic Chiefs Queendom fans think that they'll get better when Rashee Rice returns and all this stuff. End of the day, you have a old tight end. Let's be honest. Not very good. They have a old and a not very good old O-line. They're very underperforming this year, and they don't have a run game. I think at trade deadline, you're going to see Kareem Hunt being moved. I think Pacheco might be moved. They're going to have to go get a wide out. I don't believe they're very good, and their defense is not what we're used to seeing by Spagnuolo. I think Detroit boat races them, actually.
That's interesting. I do. Did you follow the defensive lineman Chris Jones controversy? Laying down on that play. And
we have a current NFL. We have two current players on our show every week. Braden Fajoko, D tackle for the Steelers, and then Sheldon Day, who's a Warren Central guy. He comes on. He's with the Commanders right now. He comes on. Darnell's good friend.
Yeah.
He comes on every week, and we broke that play down. And Sheldon was like, "Listen, I think he saw him go to a knee. He stood up. I fought the other way. I'm like, hell no. He's got that yellow C on his chest, meaning captain. When he stopped, you saw, if you look, I broke the play down. If you look to his left, all four of those players to his left stopped because their captain stopped. And that is just what you cannot do if you're that guy. And you're a guy that's set out to get paid, right? So, like, all of a sudden, you're not showing what you say you're worth. And to me, you go all out all day. That's what you do. You're a great D tackle, but you're not showing it. And it's just the mannerisms for me is the thing. The body language is number one thing when you look at a guy and grade him out every day. Your mannerisms, your body language is bad. And you know, Jason, playing that position, what are we taught to do? Pursue the ball. 11 hats to the rock. Get there. Blah, 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 blah. You're at the goal line, Jason. I didn't hear one thing. There's one thing that we don't. What do we play through? The whistle.
Yeah,
right
through the whistle. Yeah, it was.
I didn't hear no whistle. Did he hear a whistle? Did anyone else hear a whistle? That's the problem. That's why I fought Sheldon Day and all them. I'm like, man, we didn't play through the whistle. He didn't hear no whistle. So why did he think he was down? But again, though, to his point, to fairness to Chris Jones, we become so soft and so woke in the NFL that the rules have so softened that you see a quarterback go down, you're scared to be fined. So you probably just pull up now. You're not going to try to go hit him. The rules have made football so soft that it's hard to be a defensive player now. Like we saw 2 calls last week where a guy just tackled the guy and it was a late hit on the defensive player. It was a targeting or it was a personal unsportsmanlike on just a back tackle on the backside of a quarterback throwing the football. Like the rules, they don't know the rules. Number one, they're so inconsistent, but it has softened the game to where do you really blame Chris Jones? Is now he worried about getting fined if he does hit the guy when he takes a knee? There's so many things to this. The football has become so bad. Like I go garden now sometimes on Sundays. I garden.
Got that wonderful backyard. JB, I got to let you go because I got to start my weekend. Thank you so much. Great job as always. We'll play tomorrow. We'll see you next week.
Nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my system, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone.